Welcome to the Overcoming Self-Sabotage mini workshop. I'm your host, Elaine Turso. I am famously known as Elaine the Brain. I'm not going to get too much into a lot about myself because I want to really dive in. We've got a lot of ground to cover on this, and I don't like to waste time. So how about you guys? Ready to go? All right. So you should have received your little mini workbook called Get Out of Your Own Way, Overcoming Self-Sabotage with Elaine Turso. I hope that you printed that out. It's going to be really helpful for you to write kind of as we're talking about each of these topics. So the first page is going to be about setting intentions. Okay, this is really important because this is really going to help you figure out, how do you actually want to feel? How do you want to feel about your life? How do you want to feel about your business? How do you want to feel about your career? Whatever that is, how do you want to feel? Not how do you currently feel, but how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel secure? Do you want to feel safe? Do you want to feel financially stable? Do you want to feel loved? Do you want to feel confident? Those are just some examples of things that people most commonly say, but you put in whatever feels right to you. Okay? The next one are dreams, goals, and aspirations. So what are your dreams and goals and aspirations for your life or your career? What is the one big thing that you really want to do? What is that? Do you want to travel? Do you want to retire with financial comfort? Do you want to start your own business? Do you want to open up your own bookstore, your own cafe? Do you want to sell your home and travel in an RV across the world? Like, what do you actually want to do? What is your one big goal? This has no wrong answer. It is yours and yours alone. All right, your biggest fear. So there's a reason why we are not following our dreams, our one big goals, and our aspirations. Fear. Fear is a bitch. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's really rough, okay? So what is your biggest fear? What are you really, truly afraid of? Now, I do a lot of research, and most people are afraid of failing. They are afraid of failing. When we are afraid of failing, do you know what happens? Sometimes we never even try. We never bother to try the thing that we really want to do because we are so scared of it not working out. And honestly, truly, what is the worst thing that could happen if it doesn't work out? What's the worst thing that could happen? Right? So I love to share the story about the inventor of the Dyson vacuum cleaner. I heard once on one of his commercials, and he was talking about how many prototypes he had made of the Dyson vacuum cleaner before he figured one out that actually worked the way that he wanted it to. Thousands. It took him thousands, like I want to say between 1 and 3,000. Forgive me for not knowing the exact number. I've actually researched this, and my mind is drawing a blank. But it was like thousands of prototypes before he figured out how to make a vacuum that actually was, that wouldn't clog and that was bagless, right? And that it did all of the features that he wanted it to do. So here's the thing. Had he quit after the first prototype didn't work, we would not have this magical tool that I love the Dyson vacuum cleaner. I will spend the extra money because I know that it's going to last me forever. and it's true. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, had he given up? But do you know what he did? Each one that did not work, he chalked it up as a learning opportunity. What was working? What wasn't working? What did he need to shift in order to make it to the next step? Right? Okay, that didn't work, so let's try it again. And had fear gotten in his way where he said, well, I'm gonna stop trying, it didn't work. You know, it just, look at what we would not have. Okay. 53.3% out of some survey responses said that self-sabotage was a reason that they were not finding success. Over 53%. Okay. So fear is, I love these. False evidence appearing real. The opposite of that is face everything and rise. Don't you love that? I love that. So what does your inner critic say to you? Oh, this is a hard one, you guys. So we all have this inner dialogue. And as well-intentioned as she is, the reality is that this inner critic can be really hurtful, really mean, and really harmful. She will tell you things like, you're not good enough, no one likes you, who do you think you are, what do you think you're doing, where do you think you're going, you're not going to know anybody, it's not safe there, you're going to feel so stupid standing up in this group of people and talking. Nobody is going to think that you're pretty. Everyone is going to judge you because you're fat. Your clothes, you have nothing to wear. I can't even believe that you're trying to go to this party. Who on earth do you think you are? So those are some really, did you kind of hear like, ew. So what does yours say to you? What does your inner critic say to you? So kind of, here are some examples. These are examples that literally came from the surveys that I did. You can see how horrible they are. You're not smart enough. He knows more than you, and he's going to figure out you're inexperienced. You will never be anyone. If I haven't made it by now, there must be something wrong with me. I should give up. You aren't smart enough. You will look like a fool, so just keep quiet. You're too tired, you're too old, you're too inexperienced. Everyone else is better and faster, and you will never catch up. No one really cares about what you think or have to say anyways. You're a bad leader, you're fat, you're a bad mom. How could you be such an idiot? Like, ew. Isn't that horrible? The things that we say to ourselves, would you ever say this to someone that you love? Honestly, would you say any of these things to someone that you love? And the answer is probably hell no. Don't you love yourself enough to not allow these things to creep into your mind? Don't you love you? Don't you? So I want to talk about what is something that your fear has prevented you from doing. So it could be fear, it could be your inner critic, something that you have not done because you were scared. What is that? What is that thing that you really want to do, but you are so afraid of doing it? So that could be opening up your own cafe. That could be skydiving. That could be flying in an airplane. That could be traveling to another country. That could be trying to go to a dance lesson or take an exercise class or learn how to roller skate. I don't know. The things that keep you from doing the thing that you really want to try, but you're so scared. What is that? What is that? Follow the fear. Okay, so here's the deal. Fear is either real or imagined. We talked about that a little earlier. We are taught to be afraid, which means that we can unlearn fear as well. So I'm going to give you an example. You could have developed a fear, maybe of dogs or spiders or snakes or failure or disappointing others. You could have developed a fear because of a life experience. Okay, so you could have been a small child and had an incident with a dog. Maybe a big dog, you were little, and maybe a big dog approached you and he jumped on you and knocked you down, maybe scratched your face, maybe bit you, something like that. Okay, our bodies then develop and say dogs are bad. Stay away from dogs. Dogs will hurt you. So, do you have to be afraid of dogs forever? Honestly, that's a choice. Now, there are, I'm sure you've seen Fear Factor. Do you remember that show from a long time ago? Fear Factor challenged people to face their fears. The common fears were usually spiders and insects and snakes and things like that. People that were willing to face their fear and do the hard thing anyways won the money. If you were afraid of a spider and someone offered you $1 million to hold a spider in your hand, would you do it? Isn't that crazy? Right? So here are some really great things to consider. So you are not afraid of the dark. You are afraid of what's in it. You are not afraid of heights. You are afraid of falling. You are not afraid of the people around you. You are afraid of rejection. You are not afraid to love. You are afraid of not being loved back. You are not afraid to try again. You are afraid of getting hurt for the same reason. So think about where does your self-sabotage come from? What happened? Who was involved in your life experience? What did they say? How old were you? Where were you? Like, think about all of that. But here's the underlying thing. Do you know where self-sabotage comes from? Fear. They are connected. Self-sabotage is in tune with your fear and says, whoa, that's not safe. Where do you think you're going? You don't know anybody at that party. You can't go there. Okay? So think about that. Naming your saboteur. So have you ever named your inner critic? I've toyed around with many names. I've gone from Sally to Cheryl. There's all kinds of names that just, I don't know why they kind of creep in. Maybe they have they each have their own personality or something. But I encourage you to give your saboteur a name. Just any random name. It doesn't have to be related to a person. It could be whatever you want it to be. But there's a method to my madness. Okay, so please just take a moment and do that. Spider's webs. Now, what on earth does a spider web and our mind have anything to do? So here's the deal. I have a philosophy. I developed this philosophy after I played this really interesting icebreaker game at a function that I was co-hosting. And what I discovered was we had a ball of yarn, and each person, we stood in a circle, and each person said something negative that they thought or that someone had said to them, and they wrapped a string around their finger, and then they passed it to a person across from them. And it just continued, and it would pass, 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 pass. And before you knew it, it looked like this big giant spider web, like it was all weaved together, this big ball of red yarn. Then what we did was we passed scissors. And in order to free yourself from the string, you had to say something positive about yourself. Okay? And so, like, you know, I'm kind, or I'm a good mother, or whatever. All of the things that you love about yourself, that you can acknowledge that you are. Okay? And then eventually what happens is that everybody, as we pass the scissors around, everybody wound up with this little ball of yarn. I called it a ball of shit, because really it was all of the hurtful things that that someone has said to us, or that we have thought about ourselves. This little ball of shit. And we encouraged people to get rid of it. They could burn it, they could bury it, they could throw it in the garbage. They do whatever the hell they want to with it. It's their ball of shit, right? But it was an opportunity for them to release it, to acknowledge it, to replace it. So my philosophy, once I saw this web, this like thought popped in my head about how our minds are like a spider web. So a spider web is sticky, right? And it is, the reason a spider makes a web is to catch food for nourishment. But sometimes things get stuck in the spider web that doesn't belong there, like a leaf or a dandelion or a stick, or I don't know, whatever, right? Sometimes things get stuck in there that don't belong there. The spider has a choice. The spider can either spend time and energy focused on trying to get that thing out of its web, or it can cut the strings and let that thing go and rebuild that part of the web with a new intention. So you have a graphic of a spider's web. And what I would encourage you to do is to write down some of the things that frequently come up in your mind. Little words spoken, thoughts that you have had that are really not positive. And just go ahead and write it down. Write down thoughts or comments that have stuck to your spider web. Now we're going to clear out the cobwebs. So I want you to transfer your spider web, the negative thoughts. So the things that you wrote on the spider web, transfer a few of them to the negative thought comment. Maybe the one that sticks around the most. The one that just is really hard to you just can't get it out of your mind, okay? So here's the deal. Like the spider, you have a choice to let it stick or let it go. For each negative thought, I want you to write into the column next to it, are you willing to let it go? If so, go ahead and write that. And if you're not ready yet to let it go ahead and write, let it stick. Sometimes I know that we're just not ready, and that's okay. The fact that you're aware of it is a really great first step, okay? I love, love, love this quote at the bottom of this worksheet that talks about the only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. So, fear is a liar. It is. Fear is a liar. So sometimes we need to figure out what is actually true. Danger is real, but fear is not. It is a choice. It is a choice to be afraid. It is a choice. So this next worksheet is redirection and replacement. So here's the deal. Uh, Even as someone who enjoys helping others get over their own self-sabotage, mine still creeps in on a regular basis. But I have figured out that when it is happening, that I can redirect my mindset. Now, this takes practice, lots of practice, by the way. So I like to replace the negatives with a mindset shift. Okay. So for an example that I wrote in the worksheet, you are such a disappointment to everyone. Why do you even try? I'm going to instead, when that thought creeps in that I'm such a disappointment to everyone, I'm going to replace it with that I have a gift to help others, and I am committed to showing up and doing my best. So I want you to spend some time, and I want you to think about the inner mean girl thoughts, the sabotaging thoughts, what those are, what those little phrases are, and what can you replace it with? Because what is actually true? So the sabotage inner mean girl is a liar. What is actually true? So we talked about fear being a choice, such a choice. And there's that quote that I was telling you about that I love so much. When self-sabotage shows up, okay, here's the deal. Showing up is half the battle. Showing up is half the battle. Here's what I know to be true. Self-sabotage, her job is to try to keep you safe. Try to keep you, I personally, I imagine my little saboteur, she's a little girl. I imagine her in the living room with bubble wrap. And she really wants me to stay and hang out with her and pop bubble wrap because it's safe there. There's no danger. I'm safe in this little cocoon, right, of bubble wrap, and we're having a great time. If there's something that I've never done before, she is going to try and talk me out of it because we don't know what's going to happen. It could be unsafe. What if you fuck it up? What if you fail? What if you disappoint someone? What if no one likes you? Yada, 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 yada. Okay. So showing up is how you move forward. So the thing is that you have an opportunity, you have a choice to show up even when you're scared. That is a choice. So there's a great quote in here about when self-sabotage shows up. Sometimes we self-sabotage just when things seem to be going smoothly. Perhaps this is a way to express our fear about whether it is okay for us to have a better life. We are bound to feel anxious as we leave behind old notions of unworthiness. The challenge is not to be fearless, but to develop strategies of acknowledging our fears and finding out how we can ally them. That is from Maureen Brady, who wrote a book called Beyond Survival, A Writing Journey for Healing Childhood Sexual Abuse. So, having a conversation with your inner mean girl. So do you remember when I said to give your inner mean girl a name? This is an opportunity for you to have a dialogue with your inner mean girl and try something different. Have an out loud conversation with her that says that you thank her for trying to keep you safe, but let her know that you don't need her right now. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down, what will you say to your saboteur? So as you can see, it says, you can be messy, complicated, and afraid, but show up anyways. And one of my favorite quotes, I actually have this hanging on my wall, says, nothing changes if nothing changes. So on the last page is an opportunity for you to make your declarations. So you have a few things to fill out here. the things that you want to try that are out of your comfort zone, how will you commit to showing up anyways, and what are the excuses you will no longer let your saboteur use to get out of doing other things, doing things outside of your comfort zone. So that is the conclusion of our Overcoming Self-Sabotage mini workshop. I hope that you found this very helpful and that you enjoyed this little mini workbook. I would love to invite you to reach out to me. My website is elaineturso.com, and let's have a conversation. I'm not really like a hard salesperson, so if you just want to reach out and say, hey, thanks, I got your workshop, and I found this valuable, or this really helped me, or whatever, great. That doesn't it's not an invitation for me to sell you something, I promise. Okay, so I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you later.